They say that every decade, Hollywood discovers a face that changes the rules of beauty. But Anya Taylor-Joy didn't just change the rules. She rewrote the entire book. Look at her eyes, wide, piercing, almost otherworldly. Today, in 2026, those eyes are the most valuable assets in the film industry. They belong to a wasteland warrior, a chess prodigy, a high-fashion icon, but only 15 years ago, those same eyes were a source of deep, burning shame. Anya wasn't born into the spotlight. She was forged in the fires of isolation. Imagine a girl who felt so alien in her own skin that she refused to speak for 2 entire years. A girl who was mocked on the school playground, not for being ordinary, but for being different. Today, that difference is her superpower. From the silent grey streets of London to the roaring standing ovations at the Golden Globes, her journey is a masterclass in transformation. This isn't just a biography. It's a 25-minute deep dive into how a bullied outsider became the most formidable force in modern cinema. This is the metamorphosis of Anya Taylor-Joy, and it all started with a silence that the world eventually had to hear. Anya's story begins with a beautiful fluke of geography. She was born in Miami in 1996, but don't let that birthplace fool you. She is far from a typical American girl. She was the youngest of 6 children in a house filled with art, intellect and chaos. Her father was a Scottish-Argentine powerboat racer, a man who lived for adrenaline. Her mother was a psychologist with a deep love for the aesthetic. Shortly after her birth, the family moved to Buenos Aires. Argentina became Anya's true home. It was the place where her soul was shaped. She grew up riding horses through wild fields and feeling the sun on her face. She spoke Spanish as her first language. For young Anya, life was a dream. She felt free, connected, and deeply rooted in South American culture. She was a child of the grasslands, and she never wanted to leave. But at age 6, the dream was shattered. To escape political instability, her parents made the difficult decision to move the family to London. For young Anya, it felt like a betrayal. She moved from the golden sun of Argentina to the grey, rainy streets of England. She felt like an uprooted tree. The trauma of losing her home was so intense that she staged a silent protest. She refused to learn English for 2 long years. Imagine that. A future global superstar, living in a self-imposed vow of silence. She genuinely believed that if she stayed silent, her parents would be forced to take her back home. She was a ghost in her own house, communicating through gestures and tears. She was holding on to her Argentine identity with everything she had. It was her first great performance, a silent drama born out of pure heartbreak. Eventually, the silence broke through the magic of Harry Potter. She began to learn English to understand the stories she loved. But the struggle only shifted to a new battlefield, school. Anya didn't look like the other girls in London. Because of her wide-set, almond eyes, children were incredibly cruel. They called her fish-faced. They mocked her appearance relentlessly. Anya spent her lunch breaks locked in bathroom stalls, crying in the dark. She felt ugly. She felt like an alien who had dropped onto the wrong planet. She even stopped looking in mirrors for years because she hated what she saw. But in that deep isolation, she found a survival mechanism. She began to observe people. She studied their movements and their voices. She learned to mimic them just to fit in. Without knowing it, she was training herself for the screen. She was turning her pain into the foundation of her craft. By the age of 16, Anya had made a bold decision. She was done with the traditional classroom. She felt a burning desire to tell stories, though she didn't yet know how. Fate, however, was waiting for her on a sidewalk in London. She was walking her dog outside the iconic Harrods department store. To boost her confidence, she had put on her mother's high-heeled boots. She wanted to feel tall. She wanted to feel powerful. Suddenly, she noticed a large black car trailing her. Anya panicked. In a city like London, a car following a young girl is a terrifying sight. She picked up her dog and began to run as fast as she could. She thought she was being kidnapped. But as she hurried away, a woman leaned out of the window and called out a phrase that would change her life forever. "If you stop, you won't regret it." That woman was Sarah Dukas. She was the legendary founder of Storm Management and the woman who had discovered icons like Kate Moss. She didn't see a fish face, as the school bullies had called her. She saw a cinematic face that the camera would worship. Anya stopped, and within 24 hours, she was sitting in a high-end modelling agency. But Anya was different from other girls her age. She didn't want to just be a mannequin. She didn't want to just pose for pictures. She looked the agents in the eye and made one thing very clear. It was a way to get into the rooms where directors and producers lived. She was using her beauty to force the world to listen to her talent. Modelling provided the platform, but it was a chance encounter on a photo shoot that sealed her fate. She was working on a set when she met actor Alan Leach, known for his role in Downton Abbey. They began to talk, and Leach was immediately struck by her intensity and her old soul wisdom. Anya didn't just talk about fashion. She recited a haunting, original poem she had written. Leach was flawed. He realised he wasn't just looking at a beautiful model. He was looking at a generational acting talent. He didn't wait. He called his own agent right there on the spot and said, "I've found the girl you've been looking for." Within months, Anya was sent to her first major audition. It was for a small atmospheric horror film called The Witch. The girl who had once hidden in bathroom stalls was now standing on the doorstep of Hollywood greatness. The world was about to meet the girl from the woods, and cinema would never be the same. When The Witch finally debuted at the Sundance Film Festival, the industry went into a state of shock. The lights came up and the audience remained silent, paralysed by what they had just seen. Who was this girl with the haunting gaze and the volcanic screen presence? Her performance was raw, terrifyingly real, and deeply nuanced. Critics immediately hailed her as the new scream queen of a new generation. But behind the scenes, Anya was having a very different reaction. When she first saw the finished film, she was so overwhelmed by self-doubt that she burst into tears. She was her own harshest critic. She sat in the theatre thinking her performance was a failure and that her career was over before it had truly begun. She was convinced that no one would ever hire her again. She didn't realise that she had just delivered one of the most iconic horror debuts in the history of modern cinema. She had effectively turned her childhood insecurities into a cinematic weapon. The massive success of The Witch opened every door in Hollywood, but Anya was incredibly careful about which ones she walked through. She was determined not to be pigeonholed as just a horror girl. She wanted to prove her range. Her next major move was Split, a high-stakes psychological thriller directed by M. Night Shyamalan. In this film, she was tasked with sharing the screen with James McAvoy, who was playing a man with 23 different personalities. Most young actresses would have been completely overshadowed by such a powerhouse performance, but Anya held her own. She played Casey Cook, a girl with her own dark history of trauma. She used those wide, expressive eyes to convey a mix of calculated intelligence and cold survival. She proved that she could ground a supernatural thriller in real, human emotion. By the time she turned 21, Anya Taylor-Joy had successfully bridged the gap between indie darling and a major studio star. She had shown the world that she wasn't just a lucky newcomer, she was a formidable artist who was here to stay. Fast forward to the year 2020. The world was at a standstill, locked in an era of isolation that Anya knew all too well from her own childhood. People were looking for an escape, and Netflix provided one in the most unlikely form, a limited series about a girl who played chess. On paper, it sounded niche, perhaps even academic, but then came Anya Taylor-Joy as Beth Harmon. From the moment Anya read the script, she felt a visceral, almost electric connection to the character. She didn't just understand Beth's loneliness, she felt it in her own bones. She famously told the creators that she didn't just want to play Beth, she wanted to inhabit her. This emotional depth is what transformed the show from a simple drama into a global cultural phenomenon. Anya portrayed Beth as a woman who was simultaneously a fragile orphan and a ruthless genius. She balanced the darkness of addiction with the elegance of a grandmaster, creating a character that felt hauntingly real to millions of viewers. To prepare for the role, Anya had to master a language she had never spoken, the language of chess. She worked tirelessly with grandmasters to ensure that every move on the board was authentic and respected by the professional community. But Anya took it a step further. She didn't just memorize the moves, she choreographed them. She gave Beth a specific bird-like way of handling the pieces, sharp, aggressive, and undeniably chic. She turned a silent intellectual game into something that looked like a high-octane action sequence. Her movements were so precise and her gaze so intense that she made the act of moving a wooden pawn look like a life or death struggle. The result was staggering. Over 62 million households watched the show in the first month alone. Chess set sales spiked by over 1,000% worldwide. Anya had achieved the impossible. She had made the world's oldest game the coolest trend on the planet. The award season that followed was nothing short of a victory lap. Anya Taylor-Joy became the darling of the industry, sweeping every major category. She won the Golden Globe, the Screen Actors Guild Award, and the Critics' Choice Award in a single year. But for Anya, the real reward wasn't the gold statues. It was the way the show shifted the cultural conversation, but she had successfully portrayed a female character whose primary superpower was her intellect, not her romantic appeal. She proved that a story about a woman's internal battle with her own mind could be more gripping than any superhero blockbuster. This role cemented her place as the defining talent of her generation. She had transitioned from an indie horror favourite to a global household name. As she stood at the pinnacle of her fame, she remained the same mysterious, ethereal girl who had once refused to speak English. Only now, the entire world was hanging on her every word. As Anya Taylor-Joy's cinematic star rose, a second metamorphosis was taking place on the world's most prestigious red carpets. She didn't just show up to premieres, she transformed them into performance art. In a world of predictable Hollywood glamour, Anya brought something ethereal, gothic, and avant-garde. She became a fashion chameleon, working closely with legendary stylists to create looks that told a story. Whether she was wearing a vibrant emerald Dior gown at the Golden Globes or a hooded, lace-covered ensemble at a premiere, she moved with a poise that felt like it belonged to another century. But more importantly, it proved that she wasn't afraid to get dirty or to fail. She embraced the physical toll the role took on her body, seeing every bruise and scratch as a badge of honour. By 2026, her performance in the Mad Max universe is regarded as a masterclass in non-verbal acting. She has inspired a new generation of actresses to seek out roles that challenge them physically and emotionally. Anya Taylor-Joy didn't just survive the wasteland, she conquered it, proving once and for all that she is the most adaptable and fearless talent of her time. As 2024 arrived, Anya Taylor-Joy pulled off one of the greatest vanishing acts in Hollywood history. While the world was focused on her role in Furiosa, she was secretly filming for one of the biggest cinematic events of the decade, Denis Villeneuve's Dune, Part 2. In Sevid, for months rumours swirled, but her involvement remained a total mystery until the very night of the London premiere, when she stepped onto the red carpet in a stunning, veiled white gown, looking every bit like a desert priestess. The internet practically broke. Her role as Aelia Atreides, the powerful and unborn sister of Paul Atreides, was a masterstroke of casting. Even though her appearance was brief, a haunting vision from a possible future, it sent shockwaves through the fan base. Those almond eyes, which had seen everything from the 17th century woods to a 1960s chessboard, were now staring back from the spice-filled sands of Arrakis. In just a few seconds of screen time, she managed to overshadow the entire ensemble, proving that her presence alone is a narrative force. Now, as we stand in 2026, the anticipation for her return to the sands is at a fever pitch. Anya is set to play a pivotal, much larger role in Dune, Messiah, the highly anticipated conclusion to the trilogy. Director Denis Villeneuve has described her as the perfect embodiment of the otherworldly power required for Aelia Atreides. This role represents the peak of her career trajectory, a perfect blend of her indie horror roots, her dramatic depth, and her newfound blockbuster status. But Dune isn't the only thing on her horizon. In 2026, Anya is also exploring the world of producing, taking control of the stories she wants to tell. She is no longer just a pawn in the Hollywood game. She is a grandmaster, moving the pieces with calculated precision. She is seeking out scripts that challenge the status quo and characters that offer a voice to the voiceless, much like she once was. Her future isn't just about being a star. It's about becoming a visionary who shapes the very industry that once felt so alien to her. If you look at the trajectory of Anya Taylor-Joy's life, it is a story of incredible resilience and the triumph of individuality. She began as a lonely girl in London who felt so disconnected from her surroundings that she chose silence. She was bullied for the very features that now make her a global icon. She turned her otherness into her greatest asset. As we look at her in 2026, she stands as a beacon for anyone who has ever felt like they didn't fit in. She didn't change her face, her intensity, or her mysterious nature to please the critics. She made the world adjust its lens to see her. Whether she is walking the sands of Arrakis or the red carpets of Cannes, she remains authentically herself, ethereal, intense, and deeply human. Her legacy is one of transformation, proving that our deepest insecurities can often become our most powerful strengths. Anya Taylor-Joy didn't just find her voice, she became the voice of a new generation of cinema. And as the cameras continue to roll, one thing is certain: the world will never stop staring back. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Anya's journey, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more cinematic stories. Who should we cover next? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.